Surrinder, let's talk about how you came into whiskey production. I understand that you have started with different things, brandy, with rums and brandies, and you switched to whiskey, or you started whiskey when?
It was way back in 1985, approximately 84, 85, that we laid a hand on the whiskey making process, and it was very humble beginning, sort of. In the beginning, we used to have the hand-rolled machines to grind the malt, and I'll take you to the first the mash tun which we had when we started the malt making. It's a very, very small, minuscule sort of mash tun where we used to hand roll the milling of grain used to be by hand, and then you pour it into the mash tun, put the hot water there and extract the wort and ferment it. That's the level we have started with the malt making, basically, malt processing, and that stage was done in our old facility, which I mentioned, which was in the Central Business District. And when we moved to this facility in '87, so we scaled it up from that level to 5,000 liter, basically the pot stills now, and correspondingly everything was matched to that from mashing itself. We have a mash tun which is about a ton capacity of brew, and we have 3 brews. We have been continuously using it since 1987, and we do it every day without fail. Nowadays, since we are running short of whiskey, we work even on national holidays. We don't even close for even national holidays. So that's where we have come from, basically.
And you didn't start with single malt.
No.
Single malt was more byproduct, or
absolutely of the basic process of making. See what happened. We had the blended whiskies. We had the Prestige blended malt whiskey. We had the Macintosh premium whiskey that time. And those are, since the blends were there, and then there was a small component of malt whiskey also there. And for those brands, we kept processing the malt day in and day out. And we kept it on for years and years and years. By the time we realized that we are sitting on a huge quantity of 5 to 6 years old matured whiskey, and without having a dedicated marketing program for the utilization of that whiskey. So there we hit upon an idea that, because as you know, India has got a advantage or disadvantage in terms of the angel share being high, about 8 to 9% a year. So we were losing, without having any marketing program, we were losing 8 to 9% of whiskey every year. So we thought, let's arrest that at least, let's limit the damage, and we bulked that the matured 5 to 6 years old malt into the stainless steel tanks. That's the first damage control we done. And then we are sitting on a huge quantity of about maybe 90,000 liters of matured malt. Imagine, that's a huge quantity of single malt of 5 to 6 years age in Indian conditions, So luckily what happened for the industry, my present executive director, Mr. Rakshit Jagdale, my MD's son, he was inducted into the business a couple of years before, before that situation came in. And he was exposed to the industry, and then finally he went for higher studies for MBA to UK. And as a part of the curriculum activities there, he had to work on some project. And then when he discussed with his father, my MD, Mr. Neelkanth Jagdale, and it was MD who hit upon an idea. He said, we are sitting on a huge quantity of single malt. Why don't you try your dissertation work on single malts? So that was basically a sort of a nice thing to happen that time, probably. And Mr. Rakshit went on with that studies, and he did quite a lot of work for single malt groundwork, basically, to go and collect the information about the size of the market, what are the things needed for that, what is the quality expectations, and the distribution type. And first of all, I feel that time our biggest challenge was not to put the single malt into the market. it was the biggest challenge was to make Europeans accept that India can also make a good whiskey. So that was the biggest challenge for us. And probably in that light, Mr. Rakshit had to do quite a lot of groundwork basically in the beginning to distribute the samples across the UK and Scotland to the different pubs and bars to have their opinions about the malt. And it was there in Glasgow he had requested the Potstill pub is there, Potstill pub. So the owner he had talked to and he said, this is from India, why don't you try it in your blind tastings? So it was there in the Potstill pub where our whiskey was basically tried for the first time in the blind tastings. And what we were told by the response of the crowd was there that everybody liked it, and they said it's a 12 years, 15 years Speyside or malt. So it was good in quality. So when the feedback came to us, we were also encouraged by that, because by the time we knew, as per the Indian standards, we are making our malts is definitely way ahead, because we were dealing with malts, we were dealing with distilleries those days. So we knew our standing in the malt quality, right? So we knew our standing in India, that we are definitely much higher in quality in terms of what people produce in India. But then the international exposure was not there. So that is the first time when we came that, international crowd, how do they react to our quality of malt? So that was first time in during those blind tastings at different places across UK, which gave us a lot of confidence and a lot of hope that we can also probably take it forward in terms of single malts and then probably different expressions.
So you first introduced your single malt to the European market.
Absolutely.
Then brought it back to India.
Oh, that was it was in 2004 we landed in Scotland with the malt, and it was way back in 2010 when we launched it in Bangalore first time. So it's almost 6 years after that.
And the success story of Europe repeated here.
Absolutely, absolutely. By that time, a word of mouth was there, and basically the product quality was good, obviously. And then there was a good response, good recognition by the West, and which obviously helped us to gain a momentum in the Indian market also. It's not a great deal difficult to convince the people back home.
Let's have a look at some different stages of the production.
Yeah.
We will follow you there.
Yes, my pleasure. Come.